Hello and welcome. Grab a seat and join me in a weird, unsolved missing 411 case. My name is Neurodivergent Queen, and I'll be your host today in this mystery series where I tell you about missing 411 cases that you may have never heard of. On Thursday, October 23rd, 1959, west of Chapleau, Ontario, George Weeden and Meryl Newcomb had departed by train, headed to Newcomb's lodge, with plans to go hunting that weekend. These details are fuzzy because every source I have found had slightly different accounts, like whether the lodge and camp were the same place or if Newcomb had a lodge in town and a camp in the woods. The men arrived to Newcomb's lodge or cabin Thursday night, and the pair departed to hunt the Crown Game Reserve not too far from Newcomb's lodge the next morning. The two men set out to hunt the Crown Game Reserve near Mr. Newcomb's lodge, where they may or may not have had a camp that was easily accessible. It's unknown what kind of weapons the men were hunting with or what they were hunting for, but we can only speculate based on the hunting season in the area and pictures available of previous hunts that the men had been on. George Weeden, who was 63 years old, had suffered from serious residual injury to his right leg and spine from a train wreck that he fell victim to in 1941. This was roughly 18 years before the men had gone on the trip. The details of the crash that he was involved in are unclear, but what was clear is that he could not walk very easily, so long treks were nearly impossible for him. As for Meryl Newcomb, from what we can tell, he suffered from no disabilities. Meryl was significantly younger than George. He was 13 years his junior, which would have made him 50 years old in 1959. It was cold and snowy in the area at the time, so the two men would not have been able to walk very far due to George's disability. Some reports say that they intended to hunt near a truck, and some say they intended to hunt near some train tracks. The pair were last seen unboarding a train on Friday, October 24th, 1959 at 11:30 a.m. by two indigenous trappers and train crew. The men were seen between mile marker 106 and 107 of the Central Pacific Railway, located east of the White River and west of Chapleau. This was the last time that anyone had seen them. Merle's wife went to the camp or lodge where the pair usually stayed when they hunted in that area, after he failed to return home on Monday. Sources say that Merle's wallet was found underneath a mattress. She also noticed that the snow had fallen on Saturday and it was undisturbed around the cabin, leading us to believe that they had last been at the camp or lodge between being seen by the trappers early Friday and the snowfall on Saturday. Meryl was officially reported missing on Tuesday, the 27th, 1959 by his wife. George was reported missing shortly after by the rail yard that he worked for. The pair were not dressed or prepared for harsh weather conditions, so I would assume that when it started to snow that they would have wanted to cut the trip short. OPP Constable Bob King was assigned to lead the search for the two men. Weather conditions in the game preserve quickly put a damper on the search. There were safety concerns for the searchers with bad weather in such a remote area. The search was paused, and reports say that it resumed again in the spring. No signs of the men were found during either search. The only personal item that was recovered was the wallet found by Miss Newcomb at the cabin or lodge. These men going missing in the woods is not all that weird. But knowing that these men knew the area well and had been traversing these woods for around collectively 50 years makes the circumstances more suspicious and confusing. No firearms, human remains, or any personal items and equipment were ever found. This is odd because wild animals would usually not take their firearms or personal items. The property would have been recoverable even if the bodies were taken or eaten. There were also no reported signs of an attack anywhere in the area. People speculate that this may have been a homicide, but it's unclear if anyone had motivation to kill these armed men. There's also no solid evidence that points to foul play. These men basically vanished off the face of the earth.